This is me on the road, the best podcast you'll know.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode. This is a tougher podcast than usual because, as you can probably hear, we're in a festival grounds today, and all I can say is that the noise. There might be some swearing in this episode in the background. I hope not. But it's been really hard to actually work out like the best time to film and record and do this podcast. So I hope you enjoy it, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're listening over on Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music and Google Play. So many places that I didn't realize podcasts were now. But I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed the last, I think I put 3 episodes out now. I think it's 3. This is something I need to sort out as well. Shout out to James Britt, who noticed it. But sometimes I do this, and it's like in your ears must be horrible. I don't do it intentionally, but I need to concentrate on not doing that. In fact, I should probably have a drink at ready, but I don't. There we go. I did it again. Okay, so I wanted to give a shout out this week to Sue, to Johnny, and to Greta for this week's questions about what you guys want me to talk about and the discussion for this week. So if you guys are new here, this podcast is pretty new, to be fair. So what you guys can do is leave a comment, or you can leave a voice note. My favorite one to do is leaving a voice note on the Anchor podcasting app. If you don't have it, I recommend downloading it. It's got some really good podcasts. It's where I distribute these podcasts, but it also allows you to leave like a voice note, so I can include those into this week's show. The ones that I got sent in, mainly from James Britt, are all pretty rude because he didn't realise they were like a public thing. So I'm not going to include any this week. In fact, I might insert a little snippet at some point. I need to work out how to do it. But yeah, if you guys want to leave a comment, but in your comment, just ask a question. Ask anything that I can talk about the bus, about musicians that are on the bus, about where we're at. At the beginning of each episode, I just do a little update about where I am, which I'm going to do in a second. A little update about where I am, what we're doing, what's happened since we last spoke to you. And then on the Sunday podcasts, which are also a weekly thing, we have a musician or an interview or somebody else that comes in, sits on the sofa, and we just chat for an hour, or just under an hour, with a drink about their thing, and hopefully you guys can gain a lot of knowledge from hearing them speak. That's like the intention of it. So today we are at where are we now? Last week was Dimensions Festival, and now we've just checked into Outlook Festival, hence all the noise. We're actually on the same site. So Dimensions Festival is like a techno kind of festival, not really our scene, but it was really, really interesting and really cool to actually get in on that, and just like, I don't know, I think it's a good thing to like listen to new artists and listen to new music that you don't normally listen to, especially as a musician. It's really great for like inspiration. And actually I wrote a real like disco house funk tune, which I've never done before, so I will hopefully stick some of that maybe in a vlog. Like on Tuesdays I do like tutorials, but I try and do the tutorials about something that I've done that week, or with somebody that is maybe a singer. And like last week, for example, with Marley Hayes, we did a tutorial on how to set up a microphone and what's needed and the equipment you need to do that, as a starting like musician, an upcoming artist that wants to record their music a bit more professionally, which everyone can do now because it's cheap. This week, a lot of people wanted to ask. Well, a lot of people were asking on Instagram mainly. The comments I'm mainly going to listen to in terms of like what we're going to talk about are going to be on YouTube. So, YouTube and on Anchor podcasting. I don't know if you can comment on like Spotify. I know you can leave a review on Spotify and Apple Music. So if you want to leave a review, if you enjoy these and you want to help us push these out to more people, let Apple and Spotify and all those places know that you've enjoyed it by leaving a review and a rating. And if you can leave a comment, then great. I will try and read I will read all the comments. And if there's a question for next week, I will stick it in. But Greta asked this question about how we got to where we are now on the bus. And it's something I forget to talk about quite a lot because I'm so used to the bus now. I'm used to this way of life, and it doesn't come into my mind, and this is silly because I should do, to give people an update. For all of our new followers, I can't expect you to all scroll down through the Instagram, through the Facebook page, and like see what we're about. So Greta asked, how we got to where we are now. So I bought this bus how long ago now? Probably like 13 months, just over a year. It was July 2017 I got this bus, and I spent 9 months doing it up. I've been living in it for I don't know how long now, probably like 4 weeks. So been living it, sorry, not 4 weeks, 4 months. I've been living in this bus now, and yeah, it was tough. I had the help from my dad. He helped massively with like walls. He built this staircase for those of you that are looking on YouTube now. Any of you that might have seen the build, I actually made a playlist of like videos from doing the build. So if you want to see what this thing looked like, definitely head to YouTube. There's a playlist called, I think it's just called Made on the Road Van or Made on the Road Bus. And yeah, it's sick. It's really cool to have documented it so I can look back, because I actually not long ago looked back at the first video and I was like, how did I buy this thing thinking it was a good idea? But of course now I really think it was a great idea. Now I'm actually out here and it's all complete. But yeah, it took 9 months to do. So Dad helped with quite he's a carpenter, so he did like the walls, he did the staircase, and he helped with like the little details. So like his team of people helped with the cupboards and like the trims, the oak bits that look really cool, just updating everything. So it was good to have like a carpenter's mind in on that, and even just like tips with like these tables in front of me fold down so that we get loads of extra space, and just knowing somebody that can tell me what hinges I need, what brackets I need and stuff like that was great. So huge shout out to Papa Smurf, to Martin Holliday. So thank you so much for your help. When I was buying the bus, I think this is probably a good thing to mention. When I bought the bus, I actually thought it was going to be, it was going to be a van. It was going to be a Sprinter van. And the reason I wanted to do the build in the first place was because I kept seeing my friends, my musician friends, playing guitar and singers. They used to get on planes and they used to fly out to like really cool locations and like sit on a beach or sit on a mountain and record and write. No, they didn't record. They wrote a song. And I was always so jealous, like seeing them on the Instagram stories, like I'm here and I'm there. And I couldn't do that because I'm a keys player, I'm a piano player by heart, should I say. And now I'm a keyboard player. I love synths and Fender Rhodes and organ sounds and stuff like that. So although piano is my first love, I found that I just couldn't get to exotic places. I couldn't get to adventurous places to write and do adventurous things. So I was going to build a Sprinter van with a studio in it, and once I had the studio in there, I was going to just like travel the world writing music. But I wasn't going to live in the van. It was going to be more like living in hotels, I guess, or hostels, or just travel around that way. And then it just got like completely out of hand. My mum actually found this bus. She knew I was looking online for a van, and she found this bus, and she was like, I don't know if this is a bit too extreme, but I think I might have something. So she showed me anyway, and she was like, this could be cool for this. And like, my mum's normally like a super sensible person. She would never have been the person I would have thought of like showing me a bus, an ex-library bus, that is 7.5 tons, 10 meters long, and needed a lot of work. It needed a lot of work. So, yeah, she put it forward, and then I booked a viewing, which was like an hour away from my house, which was really convenient. So went to see it, and then pretty much there and then put a deposit down straight away. You can see all of that bit in the vlog. Actually, it's a really fun vlog to watch back on. Where I first went to look at it, and then I went back again with my parents to show them exactly the ideas I was having, and they fully supported it. They were like, "Yeah, I think it would be a great canvas to build a studio in." And the thing that I think is crazy as well, so the guy I bought it from was selling it through a place that actually sells like brand new caravans. They don't normally do secondhand things, and they said that I think it was a friend of theirs that was trying to sell it. He'd partly started converting it, so there was like the rough, like the ceiling was like half down. They'd put like a L-shaped sofa in. It's actually back to front to the way it is now, but they put like an L-shaped sofa in and a TV on the wall, a dodgy bed at the back, and it was like there was some basics there, but I mean we still stripped it right the way down to the metalwork, the framework, and then rebuilt the whole thing back up. So not much of it stayed, but it was a good like starting point to see like what it could be. It was very outdated. It was horrible. I definitely recommend going and watching the video. So he won the lottery, believe it or not. The guy who owned it before, he won the lottery, and he was just, I guess he was just like, I'm just going to buy a new RV. Why spend time? I gather he was an older chap, so I imagine he was just like, nah, I don't want to build an RV. I'm just going to buy one. So sold it to me for, they wanted £13,000 for it, which is about 15,000 euros, just under. And there was like the back tyres were nearly worn out, and I did some research, and the back tyres were going to cost me £400 each. And there's 4 tyres on the back alone. The tyres were wearing out. There was rust underneath on some bits. I wanted it to have an MOT, so I knew it was safe. There was some electrical bits that weren't safe that I needed fixing. Lots of little things like that, but they added up to like a lot of money, like probably £4,000 worth of work. So anyway, I gave them a list of things that I wanted doing. My uncle worked in the RAF on trucks, quite similar to this in terms of like engine, and he just knows his stuff about like vehicles. So I brought him along to have a look at it for his recommendation on like, is it gonna fall apart a month after I buy it? And he was like, well, it's got a solid engine. It's only done 80,000 miles at the time, which is nothing considering it's like 18 years old, this thing, I think, 17 years old, 2001 registration. And he was like, personally, I wouldn't touch it. Not because it didn't work, because of the work they needed doing to it in terms of the rust and all this, and the tyres and how much that was going to cost. So anyway, I went back to the company and I said, I am really interested in, I think it would be a great bus, I'm super interested, but I want new tyres, I want this fixing, I want a full MOT on it before I buy it. Which they said yes. I think they realised they were going to struggle to sell it to someone, and they realised how enthusiastic I was, and I think they wanted to sell it to somebody that was enthusiastic, that was going to love it and make use of the bus. So I said, okay, do all that. So anyway, they went away and did that, came back, and I said, cool, let's crunch some numbers, let's make the deal happen. And he said, okay, how much do you want to pay? And it was 12,995, and I said, I want to put in 11.5. I want to buy it for 11.5. No, I think I said 11 actually initially, £11,000. And then he was like, oh, I can't do it for that. And I said, okay, well, I'm being honest, the max I can go to is 11.5. The most I can go to is 11.5. And I could see on his face, he was like, oh man, we've just done all this work. But it wasn't coming out of his pocket. So anyway, he was still going to get his commission. So we said, yeah, 11.5, which is what I bought it for. And then I spent, it's roughly 3.5 on it. There's quite a lot of like recycled stuff. Like the most expensive thing was the floor, probably. It's the same flooring they use in Pret as we call it in for short in the UK. Same kind of flooring as that, and I think it works out about like £10 a metre was the most expensive thing. But bearing in mind that I think I only bought 9 metres, so it was still under £100. So everything was like really cheap. A lot of it's recycled things, bits of wood. So like these bits of wood up here were like left over from kitchens that my dad's company makes. So a lot of them were like the offcuts. The next most expensive thing was like the MDF for all the walls. And under the floor, when we did all the insulation, I literally had to strip down all the walls, and I put on my own, like just putting huge insulation sheets in the walls in every nook and cranny, like cutting it up with a saw and sticking it all on, and then we covered it all up with this MDF that's on the wall now. You guys will probably be able to see a bit of it in the video. But yeah, there's MDF which we spray painted, and we what's the word called? Basically, you put like a protection layer on, and it just makes it waterproof. It protects the wood essentially, and it's easier to spray paint that. So that was the most expensive thing. But for Chiselwood, the company that supplied the wood to do the job, I made them some promotional videos as like a trade-off. Instead of paying them, they gave me the materials, and I made them some like promotional material for their brand and for their company, which is what this company now is. But I'll talk on that a little bit later. So yeah, that was the build. In total, it was about £15,000, which sounds like a lot of money if you don't have the money. But I mean, think about it. For the whole project, this is my house now. I worked out what I was spending on my apartment in Leeds. If I live in this for 2.5 years, it pays off what I would have spent on a flat for 2.5 more years. But instead of just paying rent and having no home to show for it at the end of that 2.5 years, obviously I've got a home. So for me, it was like a lot better way to spend money, was to basically build this. And in 2.5 years, I will have saved the equivalent of what this bus cost, which is like an incredible way to think about it. And at the same time, I'm getting to put my home anywhere around the world, which is sick. So that's how we ended up to where we are now in terms of like the build. If you do want any more info on that, maybe like anything specific, leave a question, or just my best advice, probably just go and check out the playlist that's on YouTube. I think that's the best one. So the company, Made on the Road, I wasn't expecting to set up a company, but as I went through the build, I was like, this isn't just a home and somewhere for me to travel with my music and writing. This should be an experience to share with other musicians, with other creatives, with videographers, photographers, people that like bloggers that just want to travel and see the world. Like I was like, I don't want to just have this to myself. I want to share it, and I want to share the experiences. So set up off the back of it, Made on the Road, and and we now have we started a podcast. We've done loads of video stuff for other companies. Like I was saying, this is kind of what we do now. We're an audio and visual production company. By that, it means we can do music. It means we can do sound. So like even just sticking mics up and recording interviews with people. We can film stuff. When I get back from this trip, I'm upgrading cameras. So there's loads going on. I now have an employee, Jodie, who she deals with all the endorsements, all the sponsorships, tour management, all that kind of stuff, which is great. It takes a lot of weight off my shoulders, so I can just keep creating for you guys, and hopefully in the future we'll have a bit more of a team. Like my dream is to actually have more than one bus. I want to have like a video production bus and a bus that's just purely like a space for studios to set up drums and stuff like that, because at the minute we have to do all that kind of stuff outside for like drums and big instruments. So Made on the Road is now the company. I wasn't expecting to make a company off the back of it, but yeah, it's so exciting. I'm so excited to bring I'm directing a film in November for a guy called Dave Erasmus. He's organised this tour that's a month long. We're going to Scotland, France, Spain, and then back down to like Brighton area to basically talk. I guess in the basics of it is bringing creatives together and people that like community living. So he's a big believer in like living off the land and like building the communities, building these huts that you can like live in, but also he's like a creative himself, so the whole tour is going to have talks about social media and talks about filmmakers and how to live off the land and community living, like loads of things that I think are really like dominating the world at the minute. Like there's a huge movement in living in vans and living on the move, because everything's so expensive. Oh, excuse me. So everything's so expensive to do, and with Brexit coming on in the UK and how expensive things are going to be to like travel and stuff, it's an interesting like topic up for debate. And actually, in a bit, this will lead me on to question number 2 from Sue and from Johnny about how it's going to be living in this bus and traveling like after Brexit. And I can, because Brexit hasn't happened, I can only really give like my opinions on whichever way it goes and whatever comes out of it, like how I'm going to deal with it, because I don't think any of us really know what's going to come out of Brexit yet. Truly, we know the worst case scenarios, we know the best case scenarios, and we know everything in between, but we don't know which way it's going to go as of yet. We don't know what the EU are going to say back to us. Long story short, I'm going to put it out there, this might be a bit controversial, but like I don't think Brexit should be happening at all. And at this festival, I've spoken to so many people, mainly French people actually, that are really interested, like, you know, Brexit, what's going to happen? Like, how do you feel about it? I just don't think, I like to think that the EU is a symbol of showing the world that we can actually like work together in like one what's the word, not community, one just network of people. Like, I know the EU is all about health laws and safety laws and all this, as well as like, loads of like monetary stuff and stuff that I don't really take too much interest in. My parents have always said you should take interest in it, but I see it very much just about being one step closer to the world being one. And that was the biggest reason I was really sad that Brexit happened is happening, is because I just feel like it's tearing us further away from a community of hopefully one day the world just actually at least sitting around the same table, you know. Before I get too into the Brexit thing, I'm kind of already there, but Greta, I hope that's a good insight into like where we're at now. I guess I should really quickly say about what the future of Made on the Road is going to be, where I'm seeing it anyway. So in terms of a business, we do work, we film stuff and we record interviews, podcasts, even if it's just like sound effects and sound design for the films and visuals that we film. We make content for brands, for companies. A lot of the stuff doesn't go on to, a lot of the stuff you guys that are following on the YouTube won't ever see, because it goes on to, you know, the brand's content, onto their social platforms, onto their websites. So that's our way of bringing money in, but I don't like to accept too much work on that, because if I do, it becomes less about the traveling and it just becomes then like just a functional work thing. So we're really lucky that with what we do, we can charge like a healthy amount of money that keeps us on the road. So, you know, one job every month or 2 months keeps us on the road and keeps enough money coming in that I can pay Jodie a good amount so that she can work for us, and hopefully as things grow we can get bigger and better with that. I don't want to go too much into like the money side of things, but I don't want this project Made on the Road to just be about bringing in as much money as possible. So although we do this brand work, I'd try and do like a healthy amount of it so that we can do the traveling and make the music, which sadly doesn't bring in that much money, but that's a whole different podcast. Leave a comment below if you want to hear my thoughts and opinions on like the music industry and money and what artists should be doing. It's what I talk to artists about all the time, so I definitely could have a full hour-long episode of talking about different subjects to do with that. But the future, in terms of like where my heart and soul are with this project, with Made on the Road, is that I want to take musicians that don't normally get the chance to travel, haven't experienced cultures like Italy or France or Spain or whatever, that haven't had that opportunity, and then take them to those places. And we have a good bit of time traveling, speaking to the locals, listening to what their music is, and then we come back into the bus and write with all those influences. I think it's I just think it's a really exciting idea. It's a really, really cool adventure. And since I've been in Croatia for 7 weeks now, and each time we've moved to a new location, I've basically had a new artist fly out from the UK. So I've had 5 artists in total. This is our final week in Croatia. This is our final festival as well. And next Monday, what day are we today? We're Wednesday today. So I'm recording this a day before it comes out on YouTube and on the podcasts on Thursdays. So we go home next Monday. So literally like 5 days left. But we've got a full week. Myself and Marley, we're gonna travel. Marley Hayes is the artist that we're performing with at this festival, Outlook. So we're travelling back over the course of a week. So we leave on Monday, and our Eurotunnel trip into the UK is first thing on Sunday morning. So we'll be back home Sunday evening, a week on Sunday, which is crazy. I really can't believe it. 2 and a bit months will have flown by that quick. It's insane. But I've gone off tangent now. I always do this. I should have like a little notes thing. In fact, I did write some notes. I've just completely ignored them to put them on the floor and talk about. But the future of Made on the Road, that's how I envisage it. And if I can do that with artists, but get sponsorships. I had a meeting with this great. She was awesome, and basically she was a businesswoman that was talking about like what you should do is, if your fuel is always covered by work that you do. Did you accidentally Yes, Siri, I did. I'm sorry, I did summon you. What she was suggesting was that, like, get rid of your food bills. If food is a cost, then speak to someone like Lidl and try and get them to pay for your food. So that's what we're kind of doing now. But by getting rid of those costs, it means that although the music industry doesn't pay too much for us to work like this, it means that our costs are very low. So we can actually afford to get people on the bus for quite cheap. And then the sponsorships will pay for the company's time to take them away. That's kind of the plan in the future, to make one dream happen that doesn't bring in cash. It's just about finding a different way to make the business survive off the back of it. And for us, that's sponsorships. And it's great. We've got Yamaha on board now. Aston microphones are on board. I've already had a couple of meetings, but I've got a big meeting with Nord and Rolly in, I think that's October. I've got quite a lot of meetings in October when we get back to like get ready to go to London and have these meetings, and then hopefully the more endorsements we get, the more I can actually afford to take musicians. It doesn't have to be abroad, it can be within the UK, but take musicians on the road to write and produce and just experience different cultures and do really cool things. So that's kind of the future and the plan of Made on the Road. Really exciting. I'm going to talk about Brexit, but very quickly for you guys on the podcast, I am filming this and my camera's just about to stop, so bear with me 5 seconds. There you go. Even got some interval music. Oh, guys, I feel a bit tired. I feel a bit knackered. It's been so hot and it's been so noisy at these festivals. It's been really hard to get like your head down properly. There's at night time here, the music stops from like the campsite. Like people aren't allowed to play music after 12, but over the water on the distance, there's a stage that the locals have put up as like a protest against this festival, because this festival don't book Croatian acts, not intentionally. They just bring over acts from the UK because that's the market people want to hear. But so in protest, they've set up this massive stage, and of course they don't have sound laws over here or anything, and they absolutely blast the music out. So, I mean, they kind of win in some senses, because people that come back from the festival here at night and they want to carry on partying at like 6 a.m. go over to that stage, and that stage goes on to like 9, 10, 11 in the morning. Like it's been different every morning. In fact, this morning, it wasn't even on at like 6, 7 o'clock when we first woke up. It was just silent, and we were like, yes. So, yeah, feeling a bit drained and tired. We actually just went to get our wristbands as well for Outlook Festival. The artist bands, and it took because they put Marley down, but they hadn't put down her band at all. So we managed to find a friend that we know works here, and she laid in a little bit, let's say. She laid in and laid down the rules and laid down the law, and she sorted us out. But it took a long time, so we were stood in the heat with like no water. Feeling a bit tired, but enjoying chatting to you guys nonetheless. So I guess let's touch on Brexit. I already explained a little bit about what's going on, but one of the questions from Sue and Johnny was, how are you going to afford to stay on the road, and what you're going to do about Brexit when it happens? Because one of the biggest things that's going to change is going to be... because we're not going to be in the EU, every time we cross over a border, we're going to have so much more paperwork to do. It's like when you travel to another country and you've got to get like visas, and it's just a lot more costly, because obviously visas cost as well. I imagine there's going to be costs for paperwork, and you're going to have to, in some countries, get like certain travel passes, and especially in a bus like this, I imagine there's going to be loads of tax charges, and it's going to be expensive. I guess the long and short of it, and what I'm thinking towards it, is if it's going to be, it's going to be. The ways that it's going to affect me is mainly just financially. I can't imagine there's going to be big problems getting into countries. I mean, if I'm working, then yes, but I guess one of the sneaky loopholes that we have is that this is it looks like a camper, it looks like a motorhome. So if we're just dipping in and out and travelling around, even if I've got musicians on board, it's just a holiday, it's a vacation, because we're writing music. That's just like a bonus. That's just like, oh yeah, it's what we do. Like we're just travelling and exploring the country. So there will be loopholes, like lawful loopholes that we'll be able to get through, I'm sure. But I don't want to let it get to me too much, you know? Like, if it's going to cost more money, I guess we've just got to up our prices for our sponsors to cover that cost. But I can't let it get to me in terms of like, right, I'm just not going to travel. There's no point protesting. And I kind of think, I don't just think about this for like Europe and Brexit and the way things are going like that. I actually think like in life in general, it's kind of one reason why I don't get upset about taxes when taxes change and all this and all that, because at the end of the day, I'm just grateful that I can travel. And I'm just grateful that any of us have the privileges that we get in the first world countries. Molly and myself went to this aquarium yesterday that had like rescue turtles. And on the walls, like near where they are, it talks about like all the rubbish in the sea and the pollution, how much water we're using up. And it's something like only less than 1% of the Earth's water you can drink. But then only a third of the world's population have access daily to drinking water. So what's that, like 0.3% of the world actually have access to drinking water. 0.3% of the world's water supplies are in areas that people have easy access to. I think that makes sense. You know what I'm trying to say? So I kind of just look at Brexit as just like, it's like first world problems, you know? Like, I know that's, I know I'm very wrong in saying that, and I know that's a very controversial thing to say, but like, I can't be annoyed of it because I realise how privileged I am to be able to travel the world in this bus in the first place. So adding the extra costs of like Europe and stuff, yeah, it's going to suck. As a business, it's going to make things a lot harder. But it's just something that's changed. It's just something that I'm going to have to like find a way around, I guess. So the initial costs that are going to change are things like travel visas, taxes into and out of different countries. So for example, like France, I think are in I want to say it's 2020. Oh no, maybe it's much further than that, 2040. Like I think it's got to be 2040. They basically are going to aim to have no like diesel vehicles in the country, but I'd be very surprised if they managed to make it a thing where like they literally don't allow diesel vehicles into the country, because how am I going to get from the UK to Croatia or from the UK to the other side of Europe? Like, there must be some kind of loopholes, because not everybody can afford to change their car and people need to travel. And think about how many lorries are diesel. I mean, unless Tesla are planning on taking over the world in the next 15 years so that every company has like electric lorries, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, like taxes and what's the other word for taxes? Just costs of taking the bus abroad are going to be like mega different. They're going to be more expensive. That's the main way it's going to change. I think like individually, like travel visas as well. If I'm going to be limited to how long I can stay in a country for. It's like when you go to Canada, for example, they're really strict on like visas for working. It's going to just be a lot more like that. So if I do want to go away and take an artist on a tour in Europe for like, I don't know, 6 months, 4 months, maybe even as low as like 2 or 3 months, I'm probably going to have to apply for a visa. But then the thing that's awkward about that is everybody else is going to have to apply for a visa. So it may be that we organise this whole tour and then somebody gets denied a visa, and you know, we've then got to like scramble to get someone else in, or we're going to have to I hope it's not windy. There's a bit of wind coming in. I'm going to do this briefly. What was I saying? Oh yeah, just about like getting people. Sorry guys, I'm just going to close the door slightly. Just worried about that breeze, you know. Hopefully that's all right. Yeah, like there's going to be visa problems. It's like I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Long Way Round, I think it's called, the Ewan McGregor like trip. They went from the UK to America, but they did it through Russia, which is like the only way you can do it really, like via land, and then there's like a short ferry at the end by going through like Russia in that way. And they were on the border for like 12 hours trying to get visas into Russia. I hope it never gets that extreme, like after Brexit, to like get visas and get permission to come into a country. But like, you never know, it could be that difficult to get into a country, and that scares me a little bit, because I mean, UK is great. I think most of us that live in the UK underestimate how much we've got there. I mean, you've got Scotland on your doorstep, which is like Yosemite in America, or it's like national parks here in Croatia. Like there, it's so beautiful. The weather's not quite as good as Croatia or Yosemite, but it's so beautiful. And yet we've got places like that all over the world. We've got like Wales. Wales has some beautiful places to go camping in and go into nature and write music and stuff like that. We also have great cities. So, if it became really expensive as a business and we've just got to like home it to the UK, then, that's fine. But I think I've got to just suck up the fact that these things are going to change. These costs are going to change. And yeah, it's a really tough question to actually answer, because at the minute I don't know exactly what is going to change, other than paperwork and stuff like that is going to be a lot more of a hassle, and it's going to be a lot more expensive. But I think you've just got to look at it as like, that's it. That's just the change that's going to happen for all of us in the UK. Don't know what the deal's going to be. I know there was talk literally like last week about whether or not it's even going to go through. Like, because there was some like unlawful stuff going on in terms of like how they were promoting each side of the debate. But I thought that couldn't. I don't know. If any of you guys know like whether or not it is possible that Brexit will not happen and will actually stay in the EU, if you actually know, could you please leave a comment, or just get in touch via like Instagram, because I'd be really interested to know, and it'd be really great to share that news on here with anybody else, because if there's any musicians that listen to these podcasts or watch these podcasts, I bet it would be really helpful to everyone actually, to know that there might be a chance that it doesn't go through. But I think actually the most important thing is to assume that it's going to go through, assume the worst, to like get our head around it now, and then if it doesn't go through, that's a bonus. But yeah, I am interested to know if there's a possibility that it won't go through, because I just hear so many different opinions on it. So that's my 2 cents on how I'm personally going to look at it if it changes. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive, but just gotta suck it up and to deal with it. Yeah, the short answer is I just need to work on more sponsorships, or work on creating a product that people just are willing to pay a bit more for. I don't know how to do that yet. Hopefully this will be enough and people will understand that Brexit happens and the costs are just going to go up. But I do find it crazy that when everyone was voting for Brexit and how things were kind of going, that they didn't think costs were going to go up. People's wages, so many people don't get bonuses now in the last year because companies can't afford to, because the costs of everything have gone up already, and Brexit hasn't even properly gone through. My parents certainly have that situation with their staff. Is just like, it's really difficult, and this is the same with so many companies, because costs have gone up so much. Obviously the cost to run that business has gone up as well, so and that's going to be exactly the same for us. I think we're lucky though, because I think there will be some loopholes in terms of like, if we're traveling and we are on vacation and we are writing music just on vacation, because it's not like a job that's necessarily paying bills, then I think we could. I think we can get through a loophole just with that. I mean, we are essentially a camper van. That's how everyone sees us. So I'm really interested. I'm not nervous, because what will be will be. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Put your predictions like down below on what you think will happen for creatives, even just for people that want to travel in the EU that are from the UK. I don't know what it's going to be like on the reverse though. Like, people coming into the UK, are they going to have to like pay? I don't really know. Leave that as a comment as well. That'd be interesting to know. I've not actually thought about it from the other shoe. Like, surely not. Surely people coming into the UK. I really don't know. I've not thought about that. Anyway, I'm going to round off this week's episode. I think it's been about 45 minutes, which is good. That's what we're aiming for. I hope this has been interesting for you. Let me know how in depth you want me to go with like these conversations and like things that we're doing and things that like you want to hear me talk about. I don't know if you want to hear me talk about the more serious stuff, or whether you want to hear me talk about the travels. I just enjoy talking about the travels and just having a bit of a catch up, to be honest, and answering your questions. So I hope you find it interesting, like an insight into what it's like. I want to be really open with these, like about costs, laying all the money on the table, laying all the business ideas on the table. Well, not the ideas, but I've got plenty of ideas cooking. But laying down all the behind the scenes stuff that's in motion, because I think it's to you guys. I want a lot of people to set up their own thing. I think setting up your own thing is a great way to express yourself. I think setting up your own thing is a great way to what's the word? Like, just fund your own lifestyle, be your own boss. Everyone can do it, man. I'm just a very ordinary guy that's been on YouTube learning how to tile, that just worked and saved and spent money rather than going out and spending it on drinks and alcohol and meals out, spent it on buying myself a bus. And if you haven't seen the last episode, I talk about like the costs of living in this thing. And essentially, if I was to be like really, really tight, just do my bare basics on like a bit of fuel for traveling and food, it costs, like, you could make it work for like £5,000 to £6,000 a year, which is half of minimum wage in the UK. And if people are struggling in the UK on 12, just over 12 grand, or I think that's minimum wage. I didn't do my research on that before. I don't think I'll be talking about it, but minimum wage is like is like almost pretty much double what this is to live, and it's traveling. I'm living on beaches and in a bus. So like, anybody that thinks they can't do it, like, trust me, you can. I am nothing special in this situation. I am literally just motivated, I guess, is my currency, motivation. But honestly, it's doable. If you guys wanted to live in a van, obviously it doesn't have to be this extreme. It could be a van, convert a van. I've seen so many wicked van builds on this trip. Get a van, or just get your car and put a tent in it if you're willing to go like that, and just eat cheap. Go to the markets here. The fruit and the vegetables are incredible out here, but you can do it. Trust me, you can do it. If you're struggling for money, put yourself in a situation where you're not struggling for money, and get experiences out of it as well. I mean, this summer I will have been away for like just over 2 months, and it will have cost me like practically nothing. Fuel's being covered by festivals. So really all I'm spending on is food, drink, and good times. Anything I want to go and see, anything I want to go do. So my cost living out here is under £1,000 for 2 and a bit months, which is right on track for the £5,000-6,000 a year budget. And yet I've had the time of my life. I've gained a tan. My office has changed pretty much every day. My views for my office have changed every day. And I've actually been more creative than ever. It's been great for headspace, like unbelievable for headspace. And Marley needs to come and blow her nose, so you can come blow your nose. Well, I'm talking about you, so you don't have to stay quiet. I'm rounding up now in a minute. I just want you guys to know that anybody can do it, honestly. Ordinary guy currently sat in Croatia at a festival, making a podcast for you guys, and the love that's come back from the podcast has been amazing. If there's any way I can help you with ideas on what you could do, whether you're a blooming carpenter, whether you make necklaces, whether you are a musician, whether you are a photographer or a videographer, by doing this, like living on the road, I have so many ideas on how you could do it and survive and make money and make it a lifestyle. Even if you didn't want to live on the road, just let me know. I'm more than happy to like get on Skype and have an hour-long conversation with you, just to throw some ideas at you on how you could do it. It's really, 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 really doable. And actually being out here has made me realize how much more doable it is. So whatever you do, there will be a way to make it work. If you're interested in how it could potentially work for you, just get in touch at madeontheroad.co.uk. At Made on the Road UK on Instagram. We've got a new website that's up where you can actually come in and do like a 3D virtual tour of the bus. It's really sick. Go and check it out. madeontheroad.co.uk. Check that out. If you're not following and subscribed to this channel already, make sure you do. If you're listening over on any podcast streaming service, please leave us a review. Like, we're super new. If you have the time to like share it and put it out there to your friends about what we do, just go and message one friend. It will really, really, really help us. I've been speaking to a few people on Reddit on how to like get this podcast out there as a brand new podcast and like cut through the noise. And that's one of the main things people said, like, get people to leave reviews so that Apple and Spotify know that it's something that people are interested in. And to go and share it about. So if you believe in what we do, please go share it. And I will see you guys on. I'll see you guys on Sunday for an interview podcast. Last week's one was with Isaac Tyler. It was really fun. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. Next week is probably going to be with a guy called Damien Keys. He is a businessman and a music industry businessman. Very insightful, great interview. The sound quality is not that great. I'm really, really sorry about that. Like it's a good quality, but it sounds a bit distant. I didn't really set up the mics properly because I was very new to podcasting at that stage. But it's all about the content that's important to you guys. Wow. Right, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Look after each other, and remember, never stop creating. This is Made on the Road.
This is me.